projective modules. Yeah. And vector bundles? Okay. So vector bundles are more well known because when you do differential geometry, you take you know, the vector fields are forming vector bundles. You take the differential forms. It's like, okay, so this is more known. But okay, so there is a correspondence between this due to Serre. Serre is a very famous French mathematician. I think he's going to have 100 years old this year. And this youngest field medalist, and Swan was a good mathematician. And there is a correspondence. These two objects are equivalent in terms of category. Okay, so I'm just to explain what is a projective modules. So if you take a ring and you take a matrix, a square matrix, which is idempotent, its square is equal to itself, and you take the image. So you take the image of a matrix, which is just idempotent. This is a projective modules. And projective because you project. Huh? If you have an idempotent, you know that you can decompose a space. And what is the vector bundles? I can just do. So if you take a topological space or a manifold, you take some points x and over points you can have a vector space. So it's a family of vector spaces indexed with an element of the base space. And what you want is locally the rank of the family of vector space is constant. At least it will be constant on each connected component. So I'm sure that you have already met this equivalent somewhere. Sure. So any hints? Near, even in simplest case, situation. Kalman tests. So what I'm going to say, it's really basic stuff. Everything I will explain the settings I'm going. Everything will be linear, time invariant, so most basic thing. So where do you have seen the equivalent between projective and vector bundles in the equivalence of Kalman test for controllability? So if I assume that you know a bit control theory, okay? So you take this simplest system and you say it's controllable. You know, of course, it's equivalent to a rank of matrix B, AB, etc. And it's equivalent to this Otus lemma, okay, which says that the rank of this S times identity minus A and second block minus B, you take the rank of this matrix does not collapse, and the rank stays to be equal to n for any S in a complex. And so you see you have a vector bundle here. Okay, you have C, and you take S, and you can take the span of, okay, so you have and you want this vector space to be dimension n for any S, and because this is connex, okay, locally constant means it's globally constant rank. Okay. So this is well known. Maybe it's less more well known, but if you know a polynomial system, you know that it's equivalent to the fact that this matrix has a polynomial right inverse. Okay, this is also well known. If you know a bit transfer function, and where is the projector? If I have something like that, my matrix times another is equal to identity. If I swap the two matrices and compute the square, okay, what I will get? I will get the square xy times and by definition this sorry, so it's now xy. I have to swap x while. And now this is identity. So you get x while times, and it's equal to pi. Okay? So here you see, maybe for the first time, that this condition say somehow you have a projective module and you have a vector bundles. Okay? Okay. And okay, so if you want to interpret it in algebraic geometrical way, you have to speak about what is a spectrum of, because we are speaking about spectra. So you have different spectrum of operator and spectrum of, in the sense of algebraic geometry. And for algebraic geometer, a spectrum of a ring is a set of primes. So if I take the complex polynomial with coefficient in S, any S minus Z where Z belongs to C is a reducible polynomial. And this I can define an ideal generated by this element. This is the primes ideals. And the spectra, this is the geometrical inside of the ring with a topology, with the so-called Zariski topology, is a space. And this is why you put S equal to C, and you are working over the polynomial. I could take not the real, but go to the complex. So it's why here the test is to take any S in C, because you are over the polynomial. It's corresponding to the spectrum of the, okay? Another situation that you know is stabilizability. Okay, so a system is stabilizable, okay, so it means that if I have non-controllable elements, they go to 0 when times go to infinity, okay? And you know this is equivalent to that the rank of the matrix should be n, but for any S in the closed right half plane of the complex, okay? So I think that everybody who have a basic notion in control knows that. And of course, this is equivalent to the fact that there exists a feedback, a constant feedback, a state feedback, so that the spectrum, now the eigenvalues of the A plus BC, BK belongs to the left half plane, the open right half plane. Okay? And in between, okay, if I take this, I can just quotient by S plus 1 to make this transfer, this matrix to be proper, okay? And I could add infinity, because for S equal to infinity, these terms will give you identity, and this term will go to 0. So what is the rank of identity 0 is n, so of course this is equivalent. And this just says that, in fact, if I consider this matrix, it has a right inverse, not over the polynomial, but over the ring that we will pop up after, which is a ring RH infinity, denoted by RH infinity, which is a standard ring of proper and stable real rational functions. Okay, and because I have a right inverse, I can swap, I have a projective. Okay, so this is the idea. This connection between different algebraic and topological objects appear everywhere in control, but it's really center. So if you just have to keep one idea of what I'm going to say. This I could put an arrow and say stabilization, feedback stabilization. So projective is the atoms which are used by mathematicians to develop algebra. This means module theory, homological algebra. Vector bundles are the atoms to develop topology, differential geometry, etc. And here we are here. So it's really the idea that I want to convey. We are just speaking about fundamental things. It's not okay. And of course, you have the spectrum. So if I'm considering the spectrum of this ring RH infinity, which means I consider the prime elements, the elements which are irreducible for this ring, and I put with complex coefficient to simplify, you get these proper and stable transfer functions. And the spectrum corresponds here to Z into the open, closed right half plane, and this corresponds to infinity. Okay, so it's why the spectrum of this ring is equal to C bar plus union infinity. It's why it explains this. Okay. Okay. So this is a bit the most complicated slide and this one, but I don't enter into the details. I just explain that it's a big deal in mathematics, this Serre-Swan connection, in algebraic geometry, in topology, in Banach spaces, because Banach spaces, commutative, but at least Banach spaces, if you want C-star algebras, for people who know that, can be seen as the ring of continuous function over compact Hausdorff space. So Banach algebra also enter into the picture, and differential geometry, if you take a connected smooth manifold, vector bundles are corresponding to projective C-infinity modules. Okay, so this is big things. So I want to not go to this mathematics because it's something, but I just want to convey this idea. And what I'm going to do is now do really simple stuff. I will concentrate on synthesis problem for frequency domain approach, so the most basic stuff. Time invariant system, okay, so not too big, complicated, linear, okay. ODE, PDEs, and time delay system. And because I don't have the time, I will just speak about single input, single output system. And everything can be generalized to MIMO, no problem. And I don't have the time to speak more about effective aspects. So I'm also working in computer algebra using symbolic numerical methods to solve some of the problem. And I have no time because it would be a topic by itself, especially if you don't know the computer algebra methods. So I've put three pictures. Do you blind test? Do you know? Do you recognize some people here or not? Vidyasagar. Yeah, good. This man is Dedekind. Dedekind, a famous mathematician. He was a student of Gauss and a colleague of Riemann. And this guy? Kohn. Okay. So this is the idea. In my talk, I will speak about simpler stuff, but this is connection between these people. Algebraists, people doing control, and non-commutative geometry. It's what I have in the picture. Of course, the plan, linear control system, transfer function, you know, single space Banach algebra, stability. So when I speak about Vidyasagar, I will use his approach of the fractional representation approach to write analysis and synthesis problem. This is where will come Dedekind, something a bit new that Vidyasagar didn't know, and I discussed with Francis. They were not aware about this theory. So, and this theory are the most basic stuff when you learn algebraic number theory, algebraic geometry. So you learn really when you are young. But if you don't do these topics, you just know a bit the theory of ideals. Okay. But Dedekind, when he developed the theory of ideals, he developed directly what the so-called fractional ideal. So we want to invert ideals. So it's a bit more general, but okay. I will characterize the stabilization problems, speak about robustness, because I really like this robustness. And if I have time, I will make some link with non-commutative geometry. That's what I have in mind. So finite dimensional systems, you know, okay. Some delay, so I put some delay in the output. H is positive. I take an ODE, okay, and a PD, just a wave equation with boundary control and observation, okay. So I assume that you know a bit. I don't know your background, but I will guess everybody knows. So what I'm going to do is to use go to time domain to frequency domain using Laplace transform. approximation. So if I take the Laplace transformation of this, I will get 1 over s minus 1, okay? And here the delay, you will get the exponential minus h of s, and for the PDE, you have to work a bit, but you get something with the exponential. Okay, is it clear for everyone? You don't have to insist on this, I would guess? Okay. So if you don't know, okay, you just take the Laplace transform of this equation, you arrive to an ODE in X, you integrate it, you take the boundary condition, and you solve the ODE. Okay? And you can have more fuzzy things. You can have square root of S. If you take the heat equation, put some telegraph equations, and electric transmission line. Okay. Okay, so you have this. So it's the object that I'm going to consider in the frequency domain of S is a complex variable. Okay, good. So, and of course, I can come back to the time domain by the inverse Laplace transform, okay, which give you, because it's time invariant convolution. So my system can be, so if I take the inverse Laplace transform of 1 over s minus 1 times u, I will get the convolution, and the kernel is the exponential. And also, if I take my delay, you will get this kernel here. Okay? I also believe that, no?
Why don't you use the Fourier transform for the wave equation?
The Fourier? For what? It's Laplace. Okay.
Are you on the bounded domain or something? Bounded domain?
Here you see, it's just ODE and the delay. So the domain are.
Yes, I'm just questioning why you do Laplace instead of Fourier. Maybe you're not on the
This is stronger.
This is stronger. Yes, this is stronger. Yeah. No, but.
That's justification.
No, but okay, so we can discuss. It's the basis of the control to consider more the Laplace and the analytic continuation, to see where are the poles and the zeros, to have graphical tests, etc. So it's in the basis of the control theory to use more Laplace transformation than the Fourier. But okay, at the end I would use also Fourier. You will see. But and yeah, you don't have boundary. The boundary are trivial here. Okay. Okay. Talk. And if I take the wave equation, I can have this expansion. And for the telegraphic, you get this integral where here you have the modified Bessel function. Okay, so it's more or less clear for people knowing a bit control theory, but maybe some people are more coming from functional analysis. I don't know. So a bit some single spaces. So C+ will be the right half plane of the complex plane. I will introduce the so-called Hardy algebra, which is a Banach algebra, which is defined by the holomorphic function in C+, which are bounded for the subnorm. Okay. It's a commutative Banach algebra. Yeah, I didn't say you can interrupt me, ask questions. It's more interactive. It's easier for everyone. Okay, so this is H infinity for Hardys. And you can define the H2 Hardy spaces. If you want, it's just a Laplace transform of the L2 for R+. Okay, and what is the H2? It's a holonomic function in C+, which are bounded for this L2 norm. Okay, so it's nice stuff of Hardy to have put an analytic function with functional space, which is very nice. And really useful for control, at least for frequency stuff. Okay, a few things. So if I take the bounded function, I put the I because I want to be in the frequency axis, and L2. I can multiply L infinity to an L2 function, and I will stay in L2. So in module theoretical framework, we say that L2 is just an L infinity modules. I take I have this stuff. It's closed by sum and by product of bounded function. It's the same for H infinity and H2. H2 is an H infinity module, meaning that if I take two functions in H infinity, two functions of H2, I can do the linear combinations. Okay? And, okay. Behind the scene, I don't want to enter into the system, the detail, but this is the representation, the so-called theory of the representation of this is a von Neumann algebra, okay, for people doing, and you can see a von Neumann algebra as a subalgebra, C-star algebra of bounded operator on an Hilbert space. Okay, so behind this scene, you have this theory of the representation. Okay, now if I take a bounded function, I can consider this operator, which take u to be L2 and multiply by a function in L infinity. The result belongs to L2, so it's a bounded operator because the domain is everywhere. Okay. And what is the norm of this operator? The norm, which is defined here, is just the norm of the multiplication function in L infinity. Okay, and the same for H2. If I take H to be in H infinity, I can multiply H2 function by H, and you get that it's a bounded operator, and the norm of the operator is just the H infinity norm of the. Okay, and this is used everywhere in control, at least in frequency domain for robust control. And the condition with the cone is a bit easier here. Not to see a transfer function as itself, as an element, but as an operator. Like in quantum mechanics, we don't see the position and the speed as we see it as an operator on Hilbert spaces. So you see at least one connection with a bit non-commutative in the sense of quantum mechanics. So now if I take my first 1 over s minus 1 is not in H infinity because I have a pole, okay? So it's not bounded. So I can consider this map. I take H2, so the Laplace transform of L2 function in the time domain. And I can multiply, and this is an unbounded operator because I have poles, so I have a domain, and the domain is defined by this. And what does it mean? This means that I can find some input which is in L2, but the output is not in L2. Okay, so it's not L2 stable. Okay, for instance, I can take this u to be in L2. This norm is 1 over square root of 2, and if I compute the while, it's not in L2. Okay, so this system is not L2 stable. I take with the delay the same. I have a pole. It's not in H infinity, so this operator is not bounded. And you can take some input with finite amounts of energy, and the output is not with a finite amount of energy. Okay. Okay. So here it was clear because I have pole in the right half plane. Here it's less easy to see it because the poles are just on the imaginary axis, but the norm of the P, the H infinity norm is infinity, so it's not a function in H infinity. And it's why this system is not L2 stable. Okay. And the same here. You don't have poles inside the right half plane, but the H infinity norm of P is infinite, explaining that the system is not L2. This system is not L2 stable. Okay, so if I want to speak not about L2 stability, but bond BIBO, bond input, bond outputs, so I have to consider L infinity. And to do that, first I will consider L1 space, the capital and small L space, and with that I will define so-called linear algebra, also we say Caillier-de-Zoer class in control, which is the Banach algebra, commutative Banach algebra, formed by a function in L1 plus a sequence possibly infinite of coefficients times Dirac, which is with the hi to be are positive, and I can order them. Okay, and so the coefficient here should be in little L1. Okay. This is a commutative Banach algebra. You can put a norm, which is simple. You take the norm for the L1 function, and for the sequence, you take the L1 norm for the sequence. And you can take the Laplace transforms of this function. So you take the function of this form and take the Laplace function. So you will get the Laplace function, Laplace transform, of L1 function plus a sum of delay. Okay? Because this will give you delay by using the Laplace transform. Okay? And this is a good algebra if you want to speak about bounded input, bounded output stability for the same reason as I explained. Okay, I can consider this operator. Now it's with a convolution. Okay, and it's bounded. If I take H to be in this algebra, okay, this will define a bounded operator, and the norm of this operator is nothing else than the norm of the Laplace transform of the function h. Okay. One little remark: this Caillier-de-Zoer algebra is inside H infinity, but the injection is not topological. The norms are not the same. Okay. But this is the good algebra to speak about BIBO stability, okay? Even LP stability, if you want, okay? Okay, so the same, I can give the example, so I will skip them. Okay, this one is not in the Caillier-de-Zoer algebra. They are not in the Caillier-de-Zoer algebra. So all these systems are not BIBO stable also. So what is main idea in control system is if I take a plant which is not stable, in the sense that I can have fun input and the output is not stable in the sense it's not bounded, or the output is not in L2. We want to design a feedback loop, okay, so that the system, the complete system, is at least stable. This is the most basic stuff that we want to do in control, to stabilize an unstable system, okay, and then we can ask, how can I design this controller? What is the family of all the stabilizing controller? Or I can use this family to find a robust controller, and I want also to optimize the performances of the closed loop system. Okay, so this is the most basic idea of control, and I will explain this in the most basic setting. So now I will jump into Vidyasagar idea, which is fundamental. It's easy, but it's fundamental. I can even give a quotation. So he wrote a nice paper, a brief history of graph topology, and he say. So I'm going to explain the framework, but he said, okay, without exaggeration, I can say that the idea occurs to me within no more than 10 minutes. So there it is, the best idea I ever had in my entire research career, and it took less than 10 minutes. All the thousands of hours I spent thinking about problem in control theory since have not resulted in an idea as good as this one. I don't think I know what the moral of this story really is. Okay, so the idea is trivial, but it's really important. So Zems understood that if you want to put two systems in series in parallel, you have to have an algebra, because you have to have the plus and you have to have the multiplication. Okay, and you want to have a proportional feedback. So somehow the systems that you are considering should have algebra structure. And Vidyasagar understood that if you want to add stability into the picture, you have to start with an algebra. We are considering it's commutative of what you will call stable and proper transfer function. So you take an algebra, you start with an algebra, and you put what you want inside, but you say that every element inside this is proper and stable. So it could be H infinity, as we have seen. It could be the Caillier de Zoer. So this is for L2 stability. This will be L infinity infinity. But you have different type of algebra. So here, any element, you know for sure they are stable, they induce stable systems for some norms. And you will assume this is an integral domain. This means there are no zero divisors. So if I multiply two elements in the ring, either or one should be equal to 0. Okay? And if you have that, it's a basic construction in mathematics. So I will call K. This is the quotient field. It's nothing else than the quotient, the ratio of two elements in A. Okay, you take it's a word you divide. Okay, so this is simply that. So what is the idea of Vidyasagar? So this is inside something which is bigger, which is the quotient field. Is to consider a plant or a system given by a transfer function in the K. Okay, and if this element is here, it's stable. We could say it's astable, with reference to. And if it is outside the A, it's unstable. Okay. And why is this important?
A and stable.
A and stable, exactly. And why it is important? So this is really this that you have to keep in mind. This is trivial, but stability is a membership problem. It's just to test if something belongs to something, to a set. And this is really deep things. In constructive algebra, we use sometimes lots such a thing. And okay, so there are two ways to see the thing. In general, people, okay, for finite dimensional systems, you have rational transfer functions. Okay, so what people are do in general is to work over this field, and after they try to see, they do some algebra, and then they want to see if something is stable. So they will use Hurwitz test or something like that. They will try to do that. Manipulation, algebraic, and then for the stability, they will try to see if it's solved. Here it's another idea, is to see as a Lego. You have stable system, you put into series or parallel, you have an algebra, okay. You know, every atoms are stable, and you do algebra on this, so you won't leave stability. It's another approach, and this is really, I think, fruitful. This is the framework which was developed to do a robust control in the 19th. So, and Zems understood that we need to have a norm on this algebra, because when we consider a system, it's always an approximation of a real system. You forget some dynamics, some parameters are not unknown. So you want to have norms to understand how far you are from your real systems. And so it's going to binary algebra. So if you put this, you will start with A to be a binary algebra. So what is a binary algebra? It's as a vector space, it's a binary space. And it should be continuous with respect to the product. This is the idea. So the norm of the product should be less or equal to a constant, if you want, the product of the norm. So the product becomes continuous for the norms. So put the constant equal to 1 and normalize the norm of the identity element to be 1. So this is the setting that we will use and developed by Vidyasagar. So here, as I say, RH infinity is a finite dimensional part. So if you want, RH infinity is the rational function which are intersect with H infinity. So the rational function which are bounded in the open right half plane, holomorphic and bounded. Okay, or if you want, is so it's the rational function where n and d are polynomials. The degree in S of n, so it should be, they have to be proper, and if you have a pole, the real part of S prime should be negative. Okay. So this is the most okay. So we have seen that 1 over S minus 1 is not stable. So, but you can write it as a quotient of two elements, and the two elements are proper and stable. So this element is not here. If I take RH infinity, it's here. Okay. If I take the Cagliari-Döser class, this we have seen that it not belongs to the Cagliari-Döser class, but I can write as a quotient of two elements. And these two elements are in the Cagliari-Döser class. And if I take a kind of a wave equation, you see it's a quotient of two elements. Both numerator denominator belongs to H infinity, but the quotient, you have poles on the imaginary axis, so it's not bounded, and this P does not belong to H infinity, but to the quotient field. So this is the most basic idea. And then the idea of Vidyasagar is to use coprime factorization. 3 minutes. Okay. Okay. So it's to represent the system as n over d. Okay, this is what, because I'm going to consider an element here, it can be always written as a quotient of 2 n over d by definition. But I will start with this most well-known stuff. We say these are coprime. If I can find n and d in the algebra, which have a Bezout equation of the form dx minus ny equal to 1, where x and y belongs to A. Okay? But something which is less known, which is really important, is what we call weakly coprime factorization. And the definition is here. Okay, so you say that P can be written as n over d, where n and d belongs to the algebra A, is weakly coprime if I can, if for any element in the quotient field, so that k multiplied by d and k multiplied by n belongs to the algebra, it implies this k belongs to the algebra. What does that mean? This means that if you want, there is no common factor. But to speak about common factor in general, over H infinity, you have to prove that H infinity, the concept of greatest common factor exists. And also for Cagliari-Döser. So we don't know, or we know, but it's not trivial. So this is a way to say n and d, somehow there is no common factor that can cancel that. And this is the purely algebraic way to see it. And if A is a star algebra, this means I have an evolution. We say it's normalized if we have this. Okay, This is a normalized coprime factorization if you have such a thing. Okay. So example, and I will finish with that. So this, I can write always, so this is not stable. I can write as a quotient of two elements which are stable, proper and stable. But here you see I have a common factor which is 1 over s plus 2, which is, okay. So it's explained why it's not weakly coprime using the definitions I have given, because it does not satisfy the definitions that I've given. So it's not weakly coprime. And if I remove this common factor, I will get these two elements. And now I have a coprime factorization. It's trivial 1. You see, I can multiply by 1 and minus 2, I get 1. Okay? And it's not normalized if I compute the star. So what is the star here? If I have a P of S, the star, in the scalar case, and as supposed to be real, it's just the involution is to put S minus S. Okay, it's not a normalized coprime factorization, and I can normalize it, and you get the normalization, which gives that. Okay?
Sorry,
yeah?
Why is S plus 1 not a coprime factor 2?
S plus 1?
You said that S plus 2 is a factor.
S plus 2, it's a common factor.
Yeah, and why not S plus 1?
Oh, yeah, okay, okay. It's a good question. It's a really good question. It's a really good question. Yeah, because in fact, you have to define what is the units of this. What are the elements you can inverse, and this is just the elements which are proper. We have no poles and no zero in the so here I could have said also, so as you say, I can write this S plus 2 factor S plus 1. What I want to say is that S plus 2 divided by S plus 1 belongs to the units. So I could have swapped 2 to 1. This is just... yeah, you can always multiply. Sorry. If you have this, not be a bit fuzzy here. I can always multiply this by a unit. And here I can use this. Okay, so you are totally right. It's a choice, but you eliminate it. Okay, yes. Yes, maybe I can finish it. I just, okay, and then I will speak about stabilizability after, okay? Thank you.